Alfie had returned home that afternoon to find two women standing at the entrance to his building. He held the door open for them, assuming they were waiting to be buzzed up, and they walked behind him up the stairs to the second floor, then followed him along the corridor that led to number 12. "Oh," one of them had said when he put his key in the door. "Do you live in this flat?" Yes," said Alfie, suddenly wondering whether he did or not. "Then you know Hazel?" Alfie felt his face warm up. "I know Hazel, yeah. Are you—" "Her sister," said the woman, holding out her hand, which he shook. "Emily." Her hair was the same dark blondish colour as Hazel's, only it was cut just above her shoulders, and she had a fringe. "This is my wife, Daria," she said. "Nice to meet you both," he replied. "I'm Alfie. Come in." "So, where is she, do you know?" said Emily as they piled in through the door. "At work, I think. Were you expecting her to be here?" Emily sighed and exchanged glances with Daria, who laughed and said, "Oh my God." "She knew we were coming," cried Emily. "We discussed it. She said she was free. I'm so sorry, turning up on your doorstep like this. We were supposed to be staying here for a couple of days. Hazel, honestly." "She never mentioned it," said Alfie in surprise. He considered himself fairly easygoing as a rule, but he wouldn't have minded a little advance notice. "I guess she forgot." "Is it inconvenient?" said Daria, looking worried. "We could probably find a travel lodge or something." "Oh no," cried Alfie. "Don't be silly." He smiled broadly for good measure. He couldn't honestly say it was convenient when he'd had hopes of being the sole, or at least the main, object of Hazel's attention that evening. But they seemed nice enough, and he didn't want them to feel unwelcome. "It shouldn't be too long before she gets back," he said. "Would you like a cup of tea, coffee, or a beer?" They requested beer, and sat sipping it at the kitchen table while he gathered up all the dirty dishes and stacked them next to the sink. "Sorry," he muttered, leaning across them to wipe the crumbs off the table, and they sat back a little to give him more space. They talked all the while, unfazed, telling him about Australia, where they'd been living for 2 years while Daria did a postdoc at the University of Melbourne. They'd been back a fortnight. Daria had been offered a permanent job at the University of East Anglia, Emily told him proudly, putting a hand on Daria's shoulder. Daria smiled, looking slightly embarrassed. "Which means we need to find a place to live in Norwich," she said, hurriedly, "which is why we're here. We've got some house viewings on Monday. You're only a couple of stops from Liverpool Street, so you're saving us a good 2 hours travelling time." They were staying with Emily's parents in rural Kent, they explained, which had no direct transport links to any of the places they needed to go, and no decent coffee either, and certainly no decent vegan food. At the first break in the conversation, Alfie excused himself and hurried to the bathroom. Ostensibly to use it, but really to make it halfway presentable before either of them went in there. A deep scowl settled on his face as he removed Hazel's hair from the shower and Tony's shaving scum from the sink. He couldn't remember whose turn it was to clean that week, but it certainly wasn't his. When it looked less like an undergraduate hovel, he returned to the kitchen and opened a beer. Emily and Daria launched into an interrogation, asking him how long he'd been in London, 8 years, and how long he'd been in the flat, 4 months. What had possessed him to move into a shithole like this, Emily asked. Cried Daria. And he wondered if he should have bothered cleaning the bathroom after all. He told them he wasn't long out of a relationship and this was just an interim measure. "Oh man, sorry," said Daria, and he said it was fine, which it was, sort of, only he wasn't sure they believed him. They were quiet for a while, and then Emily pointed out an empty Yazoo bottle in the recycling bin and said, "You can tell Hazel lives here." At the mention of Hazel, whose fondness for chocolate milk was juvenile and very charming, Alfie's cheeks warmed again. What was it like living with her? Emily wanted to know, and he replied that it was good, fine, great. He would have stopped there, but they were looking at him expectantly, so he said he wouldn't object to her taking the cleaning rota a little more seriously, and they laughed, satisfied. "So, are you an academic too?" he asked Emily, keen to change the subject. "Oh God, no. I'm a software engineer." Alfie said that was cool. He wished he was a bit more techie. The world was your oyster when you were a techie. Emily asked what he did, and he told them about primary teaching and the school where he worked.